A very good morning to one and all, and welcome to the first session of the Global Conference on Vedic Ideas for a Better Society. Session 1, the session will focus on the theme, The Vedic Way of a Healthy Lifestyle. Swasti Pantam Anucharema. May we pursue the path of good health. The goal of the session is to understand and consolidate Vedic ideas on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health and well-being. In this session, we will have 3 speakers. The first, Ms. Sinu Joseph, Managing Trustee, Maitri Speaks Trust, Karnataka, India. Dr. Tony Nader, Head of the International Transcendental Meditation Organizations. And Dr. Raja Luis Alvarez, Director, Maharishi European Research University. Our first speaker for this session is Ms. Sinu Joseph. Ms. Sinu Joseph is a menstrual educator, author, and one of the pioneers of the menstrual health movement in India. Her work on menstruation has been unique in its efforts of unearthing the ancient science behind native menstrual practices and bringing forth the narrative, which is the Bharatiya perspective on menstruation. She is the co-founder and managing trustee of Maitri Speaks and also works with the Forward Foundation. She is passionate about women's health and safety, action research on native sciences and culture, rural development, and urban civic issues such as waste management and lake rejuvenation. Ms. Sinu will address us on the topic, Demystifying Orthodox Practices and Taboos Prevalent in Society. Ms. Sinu Joseph, please.
Namaste, Devi. With the blessings of Sadguru, Shri Madhusudan Saiji, who has permitted me, and to all the organizers who have invited me to come and share with you what Devi wishes you to know today. I am merely an instrument of her will. My Guruji, Shri Amritanandanatha Saraswati of Devipuram, described Devi as the one who brings to light awareness. Devyate prakashyate anaya iti Devi. So without Devi's anugraha, I will not be able to speak today. And without her anugraha, you may hear what I'm saying, but you might not be able to comprehend it as she wishes. So may she be present here so that we may receive what she wishes us to know. When I walked into this hall this morning, I immediately felt that this is the place to sit and meditate, because that is how the Chaitanyam of this place is. That is how all of your qualities are. It is tending towards a certain meditative guna. And I was thinking how unfortunate, instead of meditating, I must come and talk. And how lucky you all are that you can simply sit back and meditate upon what you are listening. The topic that Devi has asked us to contemplate upon today is about demystifying orthodox practices and taboos prevalent in society. This is a very tricky subject. All of us who are practitioners of Sanatana Dharma, who are practicing Hindus. There are many positives we feel about it. We talk proudly on various aspects. But there are one or two things which we would rather avoid talking because we are not sure if we know the whole answer. And one of those things, in fact, there are two such topics we will contemplate on today. And both these topics are important because every time someone tries to dismiss Sanatana Dharma, these are the two topics they often use. Recently, there were conferences which were titled Dismantling Hinduism. And in these conferences, there were two themes, two talking points that they held on to. One was on caste, and the other was on suppression of women. Or so they think. And even the best among us very often are unable to explain why there are so many rules for people from different varnas. I think with the effort of many of the Indic scholars, many of us know caste is the wrong word, varna is the right word. Don't you all know? All the students? Yes? Yes, very good. Now, what have you known about varna? What is varna? It is one of those things that we would rather not talk about, or we will just touch upon very superficially. On the positive side, those who have spoken about it often talk about it as gunas, as certain qualities that different people have. Now, not everyone can become a doctor, right? Only few have that quality and that ability. Not everyone can be an artist, only few have. So they say varnas are descriptive of those inherent gunas. Have you all heard this definition of it? Students? You have, right? And that is the correct definition in the Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna describes the gunas of each of the varnas beautifully. You only need to read that to know it. But the problem comes when somebody asks, why are the rules different for women and the Shudra Varna? If it is just about guna, then anyone can cultivate that guna. Why do we have different rules? Why do we have restrictions? You know, I worked in the villages in the vicinity of this campus. And in one such village in Dodbalapur, not far from here, we were working with some people in the village, and the Brahmin in the village, he built a temple. And for the inauguration and all the other events, he kept inviting people from the SC/ST colony. And they refused to come. So when my team and I were there, he requested us and said, can you please talk to them and tell them to come? Because when I call, they are refusing to come. They are refusing to come. So in my presence, they called the people from the SC/ST community. This Brahmin man who has built the temple stood in front with folded hands, pleaded them, please come enter the temple. We have built this for everybody in the village. The people in the SC/ST colony refused. They said, no, we will not enter. That is not for us. Now, in whatever language they understood, they kept trying to say why it is not for them. The gist of which was that if we enter this temple, then we won't be able to do our day-to-day work. They are talking from their experience of it. Not a theory, an experience. Pratyaksha Anubhava. Sadguruji spoke about that, right? We should all experience the Vedas. He was talking about Pratyaksha Anubhava. So these people, They had some experiences which made them realize that the temples built by the Brahmins will interfere with their work. How can that be? There is a whole science to it, and that is what I wish to share with all of you today. When we dismiss varnashrama, we must bear in mind that we are dismissing Devi. In Lalita Sahasranamam, one of the names of Devi is Varnashrama Vidhayini. Devi is the one who established the Varnashrama. It is not a human-made concept. This is the first and foremost thing. So in our desire to sound secular and equal, we are dismissing Devi. When we dismiss Devi, true Jnanam will never come. Because it is only through Devi that we will know knowledge beyond books. If she does not communicate through us, we will never know true Jnanam. So we will know some things through books, few other things through our social conditioning. But the depth of it, the core of it, is the source of knowledge which we call Saraswati. We have to tap into that source to know the truth. So why is Devi called Varnashrama Vidhayini? And that brings us to the question, what is Varna? The word Varna. What is the most common meaning associated with the word Varna? Anyone? Varna, what is it? Absolutely, color. What color are we talking about? Is it color of the skin? Blackish brown, light brown, wheatish brown, yellowish brown. Is that what Devi is talking about? Certainly not. Varna, color. Color of what? Anyone? This is the color of your aura. All of us have a bioelectric field. We are all made up of atoms. All atoms have electrons which are constantly moving, thereby creating vibrations. Vibrations in turn create waves. And all of us are surrounded by these waves. In our language, we say koshas. You have heard of the pancha koshas, is it not? How is it that we associate Varna with aura? What is a color? A color is an electromagnetic wave. Those of you who have studied physics or engineering, you will understand. An electromagnetic wave has a wavelength, right? So when the wave is broad like this, it has a large wavelength. A wavelength is the distance between one upper point to another upper point, or one lower point to another lower point. I'm not using the technical terms here. So if it has a large wavelength, it usually means that it has a very small, a very low frequency of vibration. And those colors in the electromagnetic spectrum, which are visible to a human eye, are a small range, the visible spectrum. In that, the waves, the large waves with the low vibrational frequency correspond to the color red. Many of the female students here are wearing a red color sari. There's a reason. The other end of the spectrum has wavelength which is very short because they are waves like this, not like this. So these short wavelengths, waves, have a very high vibrational frequency, and that corresponds to the color violet. And there is white, which is beyond all that, which the boys are dressed in. There is a reason for that. Varnashrama Vidhayini. You must ask her, you must meditate upon her, and she will tell you. What do we mean when we say that something has a certain frequency of vibration? What makes it vibrate? We all have a certain frequency of vibration. One of the things which directly influences our frequency of vibration is our thoughts and our emotions. Negative emotions of fear, of anger, of jealousy, of hatred. These have very low vibrational frequencies. And they keep our prana very low. We feel drained, we feel depressed, we feel lethargic. And when we are like that, we will attract more of those same qualities and those same people towards us. We remain in that low pranic state and we attract more of that. How do we break away from that cycle? Most instances of violence happen because there's so much fear among women. And when we remain in the state of fear, we attract more of negativity towards ourselves. The way to break that cycle is to change the thought, and by that you change your frequency of vibration. When your thoughts become that of seva, of love, unconditional love, not lust-driven love, that has a very low frequency of vibration, but unconditional love, which manifests as seva, which is what I'm experiencing here. Love all, serve all. Right in front of me is that saying. Then automatically the frequency of vibration of the person experiencing that and their surrounding goes up. That is why this place is throbbing with that high frequency. Now, all of us, as we go through different phases of our life, or sometimes even a single day, the wavelengths, the frequencies, and thereby our varna, our aura, can keep changing. But by and large, for a large part of our life, unless through sadhana and through a guru's intervention it changes, for a large part of our life, we all have a particular type of an aura. And that manifests in the form of certain gunas. Based on that, there is the varnashrama. Another more easier way to comprehend this is through the science of chakras. Have you all heard of it? So there are 6 chakras along the spinal column and the 7th, which is the Sahasrara chakra. Each of these chakras are associated with a particular color, particular varna. So the lowest one of Mooladhara chakra, which is what powers us to carry out physical work, that is often associated with the color red. Without a strong Mooladhara, which means what? Strong is not physical strength. We're talking about our Sukshma Sharira, about our subtle anatomy. So here, strength means sufficient prana being in that region. So when the Mooladhara chakra has sufficient prana regulating it, that is what gives us the capacity for physical work. Your hands and legs, if they must move, then the Mooladhara should be strong. Just above that is the Swadhisthana chakra, corresponding to the reproductive system. Between the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, the colors may vary from red to orange, sometimes pink, based on how your vibrations are. And the Swadhisthana chakra is necessary for all of us during our reproductive phase. Women and those who are called the Shudra Varna primarily operated from the Mooladhara and the Swadhisthana chakra. And when their occupation, their own gunas, and the things they must do in life were largely centered around these two, Mooladhara and Swadhisthana chakra, we have to be very careful of taking them away from it. What does away from it mean? To the higher chakras. I will tell you about that in a bit. When we come to the navel is the seat of the Manipuraka chakra. In the material world, when somebody reaches the height of material success, as we see especially in the Western world, that is a fully powered Manipuraka chakra, which has a lot of prana going in there. High ambition, worldly goals, and that is required to create, generate, and maintain material success. So the Varna, called the Vaishya Varna, largely operated from the Manipuraka chakra. They needed to. You know, with every chakra, there is a deity associated. One Devi and one Devata. With the Vaishya Varna, where the Swadhisthana and Manipuraka chakra is predominant, it is Mahalakshmi. Only when that Varna, people of that Varna, carry out their work in the world by becoming Mahalakshmi, will there be prosperity. How do you invoke Mahalakshmi? She does not come because you request her or call her. You have to become her. How do you become her? What does she represent? Generosity, prosperity. There is Mahalakshmi here because here everyone does seva. Everyone gives away freely. Everyone acts as Mahalakshmi themselves. So Mahalakshmi is here. When this particular Varna starts to undertake trading or business or farming in a way that is more about self-interest or self-centeredness, then Mahalakshmi quietly leaves. Many of the areas where poverty is so evident is because there is no seva happening there. Everyone is working selfishly for their own gains. You can't grab Lakshmi and seat her. You have to become her. As we go higher up, we have the chakra at the heart, the Anahata chakra. So the Manipuraka chakra, coming back to the Varna of it, it is often represented as the color of the rising sun, orange. Many of the sannyasis wear that color, saffron, because one way of Manipuraka is worldly success. The other part of it is the start of the spiritual journey, because Shiva sits here as Rudra with the Vairagya Bhava. So a sannyasi or anyone in the spiritual path, when they access the Shiva Tattva in the Manipuraka chakra, they will detach from worldly success and it will become the start of their journey towards becoming one with the divine. That starting point is here. So you see in the West, that which is the highest goal is here only the starting point for the real goal. The next higher one is the one at the heart, Anahata Chakra. This is the place, both Manipuraka and Anahata are the place where those with leadership qualities need to keep their prana at that level. Their aura has to radiate these colors. Anahata is green. And Anahata is the place where you will experience an effortless compassion and kindness. I don't mean the diplomatic, hello, how are you? What I mean is when you see another creation, whether it is man or animal or plant, you experience it as part of yourself. Is there any effort in being nice to yourself? Do you ask yourself, oh, hello, Sinu, how are you? You don't. You are naturally kinder, you are naturally nicer, and that is how you would be with another when there is enough prana in the anahata. Anahata is the place where fear dies. You know what you should do for fear to disappear? We must kill the ego. When there is no ego, there is no fear because we don't experience another as another. We experience them as a part of ourselves. So here is the color green, the aura green. There are moments when certain forms of Devi or simply the name of Sri Krishna will get your anahata throbbing. Maybe some of you will experience this in meditation. When that happens, your aura becomes green in color. Your varna changes. So those who are leaders, we call them the Kshatriya Varna. It was not about getting positions of power. Leadership is huge responsibility. The kings had to take responsibility for the people and for everything that they had to watch over. And they had to be fearless. And they had to be able to battle. All of those qualities are of the Manipuraka and the Anahata. They had to have that. When leaders became self-centered, when leadership became all about self-glory, that is when people suffered. A land is protected by the grace of Ma Durga. The Kshatriyas, through their guna, could invoke Ma Durga and become Ma Durga and fight as Ma Durga. Those who are in leadership roles, like how I said about the trading community had to become Mahalakshmi, the Kshatriyas had to become Ma Durga. And that is when they could fully complete the purpose of their varna. And then we have the Vishuddhi Chakra at the throat, the color of which is blue to violet. Then we have Anahata, which is described as, Agnya, which is described as white. And then Sahasrara, which I will not talk about because you must have an experience of it. Vishuddhi Chakra is where you can access Ma Saraswati. If you think that knowledge comes by reading books, think again, how did the rishis write those Vedas? You all know that it is not through the mind, not through the chitta. When they meditated, they raised their prana high to a level where they became one with the devatas. And then Ma Saraswati herself revealed the Vedas to them. If you must know the true meaning of anything in the Vedas, you must become like the rishis. You must meditate upon she who is the Varnashrama Vidhaini to know what is the Varna. Only she can reveal it. So when you see people who are truly jnanis, you will see their aura is bluish in color. They will emit that because the frequency of vibration is very, very high here. And then there is the Agnya, which is the place from where the Guru communicates. The Agnya of the Guru comes through this region. Everything that I speak, everything that is communicated is through the blessings of my Guru and the Guru Parampara. Without that, without receiving the Diksha from a Guru, it is very difficult to access Devi. And without Devi, we can never know the true Jnana. So this is the seat from where the Guru and the whole Guru Parampara literally downloads their knowledge through you. You know, when I met Guruji, I did not even know that I was initiated. I just touched his feet and he blessed me and I went back happy. And then on, many things changed for me. Devi started happening. I started being drawn to Devi temples. And I never really went back and met Guruji. He passed away a few months after I met him. I never really heard his talks. Much later in life, when I started viewing some of his talks, I said, he is talking the same things as what I am saying. He keeps using the phrase, the signs of spirituality, signs of spirituality. I said, oh, he's just like me. How silly. I am like him. I became like him. His whole knowledge he downloaded into me through that one random meeting that happened. That is what the Guru can do. Devi. We can spend an entire lifetime trying to gain knowledge from books, or in a few seconds, a Guru can download eons of knowledge into your system and equip Devi to guide you. How does a Guru come into your life? Many people have asked. Should we Google Guru nearest to my house? You know, we are so ignorant that even if Bhagavan stands in front of us, we will not recognize them. So we can only do sadhana to kill our ego, to empty our mind, so that when we've emptied ourselves enough, the person who can fill us will appear. Will appear, because they know, they are waiting for us to be ready. We cannot go searching, we will not find. We can only work on ourselves to empty ourselves, and then the Guru will happen. For all of you children, this is very important. All you have to do is, why Seva is given so much importance here? Because regardless of which Varna you are, Seva is what will reduce and kill the ego. And with that, Shakti within will wake up. Seva is that simplest way of doing it. And Seva, if we say, I am doing Seva, then that's it. There's no point in such Seva. Seva is happening through me. We have the active and the passive voice way of speaking, right? Learn to speak in the passive. Seva is happening through me. Speech is happening through me. Which means we realize we are not the doer. There is a Shakti which is using us. And we should allow ourselves to become that tool of Shakti to communicate. So Varna meant, based on our thoughts, there are vibrations which create certain electromagnetic waves, which is what appears as our bioelectric field, or in casual language, aura. The rishis were in fact able to see this. There are people, devotees of Sai Baba and Amma, Amritanandamayi Mata, she's Devi, and many others who have told how when you stand in front of such people, they will look at you and yet it would seem like they're looking beyond you. Maybe some of you have experienced it. What they are seeing is your koshas, your whole subtle anatomy, your whole sukshma sharira, your entire aura. That is what they register. The rest of what we are, our name, our form, our clothes, this is just an outer shell. That's not who we are. What resides within that is what the rishis and the gurus were able to see. And accordingly, they knew what was the varna. For every varna, there is the shortest path to become one with the divine. And it is through that path that most effortlessly they can reach there. If a person of the Shudra Varna tries to imitate the processes of the Brahmana Varna, they will suffer. Why? The Brahmin, he has to chant so much, do so much of yagas and all those things to keep the prana operating in this higher region. Vishuddhi to Agnya. He has to communicate with all the devatas. So he needs to have his prana up here. He has to receive jnanam from Ma Saraswati. So it must be here. And that is why the strictest rules are there for the Brahmanas. They have to keep their prana up all the time. Most difficult task. They are not allowed to self-indulge. They should not have even the tiniest bit of ego. Everything they do should be seva. They should never try to earn money. Teachers, healers, these were never people who did things as a transaction. The minute they thought, how much will I get out of this? Or even if they thought of fame, oh, how popular will I become by teaching this? That's it. Devi will not communicate with them or through them. Even today, the traditional Vaidyas, they won't accept money. You have to request them to take a dakshina, which they will not touch. They will say, keep it in front of the temple or in front of their devata. That is how they are. And the Vaidyas will tell you, the minute it comes to their mind that they should accept money, they will lose their power to heal. The teachers will tell you, the acharyas will tell you, the minute they start thinking of how much money I will make, Devi will stop communicating through them. So they will just not touch that. And to be in that state, their prana had to always be higher. So, in the incident which I mentioned, where the SC/ST community colony people said, no, if I go to this temple or the Brahmin, I can't do my day-to-day work. They were so apt, so correctly they understood it. Because if there isn't enough prana going to your Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, and if you go to the temples, which is meant to raise your prana above, your day-to-day activities will suffer. That is why Brahmins could never work for themselves. Bhikshandehi bhavati. That is what they had to do for their livelihood. Someone had to take care of them. Their prana is always high. You know, when the Upanayanam ceremony is done, there is a stick, a danda, given to the first three varnas. The height of this danda is different for the three varnas. It is very interesting when you contemplate on this and ask the Varnashrama Vidhayini why it is like this. The danda given to the Brahmin goes up to the top of his head, the height of it. The one given to the Kshatriya goes up to his forehead. The one given to the Vaishya Varna person goes up to his chest. Why? Any guesses? Beautiful. See, now he's getting it. Devi is communicating through you. Very nice. That is as high as you can go through your sadhana in this birth, because this is your varna, this is your guna. And that, as an indication, the length of the danda was different. This does not mean that women or people of the Shudra Varna cannot access the divine. No, that is completely wrong. The process is different for them. The process is through work, by becoming karma yogis. Do all the work, but do it as an offering to the divine. All skills, all kala, it is Devi. If you think that you have the skill, you are the artist, you are the sculptor, you are the tailor, then that's it. Your work will never have that quality. Devi will never happen for you. But when you completely offer everything you do with the awareness that it is through you that something is happening, not by you, then that process alone will take you higher, because the commonality for all varnas, if anyone can master it, It is to kill the ego. The more the ego diminishes, the more Devi increases. That is the simplest thing. If you don't know the Shastras, you don't know any rules, that is the one thing. And what is the means of doing that? Seva. Keep doing seva. That is why love all, serve all. Varnas are important because we all go through our life without knowing what we should do now and how far we can go through sadhana. If we don't know this, we do the wrong things, and that starts to affect not just our day-to-day activities. For women especially, it starts to affect their reproductive health. And that takes me to the second part of today's discussion. Why are there so many rules and restrictions for women of reproductive age? These rules don't apply for women after menopause. It is during their menstrual years. The case which all of you would have heard about is the Sabrimala case, where there is this shrine in Kerala of Ayyappa, Bhagwan Ayyappa, where people of all varnas could go, but women of reproductive age are not supposed to go. How do you understand this? Sabrimala is a moksha dham. Can you name a few other moksha dhams? Kashi, yes. Then Kailash, yes. So all these places are moksha dhams. If you try and remember, and if you ask your grandparents, they will tell you that earlier days, only people who were grandparents, that is, women after menopause, men after they had finished their worldly responsibilities, only then they would go to such places. Because only then they are ready for pursuit of moksha. Today we all go, we take youngsters, go as a family trip. What happens in a moksha dham? For moksha to happen, there is a physiological process that will happen, which is basically to pull your prana upwards towards the higher chakras. This will forcibly happen. Sabrimala is unique because they insist that people of all varnas can go, people of other religions can also go, but there is a 45-day vrata that they have to do. They have to do a certain tapas. They walk barefoot. You must have seen, right? They wear different kind of clothes. They have to beg for their food. They have to do an inner purification so that their prana can be raised without much obstruction. And if the person has prepared well in these 45 days, one visit to Sabrimala is enough for moksha to happen. There is a saying, Swamiye kandal moksham kittum, in Malayalam. If you just see Swami, moksha will happen. There are many stories among Ayyappa devotees who, as a challenge, just to show there is no such thing, they went to Sabrimala following all the 45 days, came back from that and left their body within a matter of months. They couldn't hold on to the body anymore. They realized the futility of it. Youngster. So you must go to a moksha dham when you are ready for moksha after worldly responsibilities. Men can somehow manage and go, but when women of menstrual health go to such places and prana is taken away from the Swadhisthana and Mooladhara chakra, the first sign will be your period will alter. Menstrual irregularities will happen. When that continues, early menopause could happen. There's a reason, and I've explained it in detail in my book, Woman and Sabrimala, and another book, Rutu Vidya. Those interested could read. I'll not go into details, but I'll tell you, Sadguruji spoke about how we should learn from experience, right? Pratyaksha Anubhava. So I'll tell you the experience of one woman who, after reading my book, told me what happened after she went to Sabrimala before menarche. That is, she was just a little girl of 9 years old. So right now, the rule in Sabrimala is women between the ages of 10 to 50 should not go. Young girls before 10 can be taken, and those after menopause can go. That is how they have put it, which is a questionable rule, and you will know why in a bit. So this lady, she wrote to me saying that when she read the book, she started crying. For the first time, she understood what happened in her life. When she was around 9 years old, she was a young, very feminine, girly child. Her father took her to Sabrimala. And when you climb up, there is this event of Makara Jyoti. What you see, they think it's an external light, but actually it is the light within that one can experience if the body is conditioned for it. This little girl, because she was so innocent, intense experiences started happening for her on that day. She could not describe what happened, but she felt something very powerful. Came back from Sabrimala. This was at the age of 9 years. Then at the age of 13, her first period started. Very problematic. She would bleed for weeks together. They took her to a gynecologist who gave medicines which completely stopped the period. And simultaneously, this girl who was very feminine, very girlish, her body started changing. She developed a lot of facial hair. Her structure became very masculine. Her body was undergoing this huge transformation. You know, when prana is raised up and touches the Agnya, Sabrimala is the place where Agnya chakra receives a lot of prana. From here only moksha happens. What happens is that the Agnya chakra influences your pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland releases hormones called testosterone. All the boys know it is a male hormone. It is good for boys. When testosterone is released for women, their ovaries should be able to convert that into the female hormone called estrogen. But your ovary is powered by Swadhisthana chakra. That is not receiving prana, only Agnya is receiving. So there is more testosterone than what your ovaries can convert to estrogen. Because of that imbalance, testosterone-driven qualities, facial hair, masculine voice, those start to appear in women. A lot of people say 2 women, they fought their way and went to Sabrimala, no? They look fine, they're fine. What do you mean by fine? Look at their body language, hear their voice, listen to their mental state. They're hugely affected. A gynecologist can very easily run a few tests and tell the problem they have. A woman's menstrual health is closely linked to her mental health. When women are aggressive, frustrated all the time, you can just assume that she has period problems also. It's very evident. So a place like Sabrimala had this rule. Actually, the rule was that girls should not go at all. Because we forgot the reason, we said, okay, we put an age gap, 10 to 50. Because this young girl was just 9 when all this happened. There are other parts of the world also where there are similar rules. In Japan, there is a place. In Greece, there is a place where they don't even allow the female animals to enter. Basically, anyone who has the role of reproduction should not go to these places which will turn the prana away from reproductive organs. This is the deep science that is there. All the rules, as you study the Vedas, I want you all to remember that every rule in the Shastra is not at all, not even touching us. Everything in the Vedas is based on biological facts. They are not social constructs. They are not creations of a patriarchal society who try to suppress women. They are the revelations received by those who are able to go into samadhi. Samadhi avastha is that state where your mind becomes nil, so that the true jnanam is revealed by Devi herself. only that is true knowledge. Everything else is full of social conditioning. If you really must learn the Vedas, you must learn to access Devi. None of it is a social construct. If you don't understand some things, just tell yourself that I don't yet understand it. But it is based on a biological fact. Now, biology and science is one. What's the difference between the Western understanding of science and what our rishis understood of science? In the West, when we talk of biology, they speak of the sthula sharira, gross physical anatomy, that which you can perceive with your indriyas. We also had that in Ayurveda. Sushruta was a surgeon. So we had surgery, we had knowledge of the sthula sharira, it was there. But in addition to that, we also have the knowledge of the sukshma sharira, subtle anatomy. In modern science, the interesting part is physics and chemistry have gone to the sukshma level. They call it quantum physics, quantum chemistry. Somehow the biologists are stuck. They have quantum biology only as theory. There'll be a few TED Talks by some researchers who really don't even seem to know what they are speaking because it is so theoretical, they've had no experience of it. When they learn to apply quantum biology in diagnosis, in pratyaksha anubhava, in interacting with life, then they will arrive at Ayurveda and chakras. That is the difference between that science and this science. Biology is yet to make the quantum leap in practical application, whereas Ayurveda started with that. It is all quantum. What is quantum? Quantum means at that level, at the subatomic level, everything functions both as a particle and as a wave. So when we talk about electric field, we have the particle effect in terms of electrons and their charge. We have the wave effect too, and that is what we call prana. So don't draw demarcations in your mind of this science versus that science. Science is one, but the levels of understanding is different. So when we have to explain the Vedas through science, remember, you must have a thorough knowledge of quantum science, quantum physics. And you must be able to connect that to biology. But all this is just to prove a point in some conference and debates. You may or may not do that in your life. But at least to yourself, you should always be aware that the Vedas are hugely, deeply scientific, based on a biological understanding of life. They are not social constructs. And that is why we call it Sanathana, eternal. Otherwise, we would have called it Puratana, ancient. We are not Puratana Dharma, we are Sanatana Dharma. It is valid for all times, for all of life, as long as there is life as we know it. It is valid. Devi, thank you all. There is room for questions.
If anyone has any questions, they may please pose it to Ms. Sinu. Any questions?
Sairam, sister. Thank you for your wonderful speech. It was most enjoyable. I want to ask you, you mentioned the prana energy is the one that moves from chakra to chakra. Is it the same that is also known as kundalini energy? Is it a different name for the same thing? Thank you, Sayam.
Very tricky subject, Kundalini. And without Devi's permission, without Devi having given us the anubhava of it, we must not talk about it. I haven't had the anubhava of it. But everything is a form of prana. When that is in a highly concentrated form, but dormant, we say the Kundalini is lying dormant in the Mooladhara chakra. And when the sadhak is able to waken it and pull it up through the spine, it changes the entire physiology of the person. At some point, there was one among the apes who decided, hey, I think there are parts of the brain which I haven't used yet. And when he attempted to do that, he became human. Like that, the few among humans who realize that, oh, there is this thing called Kundalini, and if I wake it up, what do I become? They become another, they become a superhuman. But for the human physical body to handle that Shakti, hugely powerful Shakti, it's like the most powerful form of force in nature. For humans to handle that, there's a lot of work we should do to do a shuddhikaran, to purify the body. The rishis say, never even talk or start any sadhana on chakras without doing manas shuddhi, sharira shuddhi, buddhi shuddhi. Like this, they have listed a number of things that we have to do. We have to purify our nadis, our prana to such an extent. And without guidance from a guru who has experienced it, don't even attempt it. Because we cannot handle such a force. But that is what will help humans evolve to the next stage of consciousness. Thank you. Thank you all. You have been a lovely audience. Oh, there's a question. Yes.
As per you know, India is a secular country and some are against these varnas. What do you think about this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
India is a secular country and there are many people against these varnas. What do you think about this?
So my entire talk was about that. See, we have to understand what is social conditioning, what is knowledge that has come from colonization, and what is the true jnanam from Devi. In our own mind, we should be clear. Whether we are able to communicate this with others or not is different. There are some compulsions that every nation has, political compulsions, for which they have to put themselves forward in a certain way. And there is nothing wrong with that. It is for each individual to know who we are, and with that knowledge, how we can attain to the highest possibility of human birth. The Constitution serves a certain purpose. Without that, there will be utter chaos here. We need it to be that way. But in the path of sadhana, if we begin by social conditioning, we have lost the battle even before we began it. It has to begin by being honest to ourselves. You know, I will tell you, when we are talking about this, today was supposed to be the first day of my period. And I told the organizers, I will not sit here because there will be chanting and all that happening, and I cannot handle it during this time. I stepped into this campus, my prana just went up, and it is just throbbing, my Vishuddhi, this region, it is all here. And I realized, oh, Devi has planned this. I'm not going to get my period until I step out of here. So everything is on hold. And everything I said is from my experience of it. It's such a strange thing that you ask this question and this is the topic because I'm experiencing this. My body, it is time for it to menstruate, but it is not able to because the prana here is so raised. It is not going down. Now if I say it is all secular, we are all one, who am I fooling? My body is experiencing something else. So constitution exists for a reason, for all diplomatic purposes to avoid conflict. Please use it in your personal journey of sadhana. Understand what you are. Understand your inherent gunas. That does not take you away from experiencing the divine. It will take you towards it in the shortest possible path. I hope I'm clear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sairam, one question. You said that if a woman visits a moksha dham, then it will affect her reproductive system. But most of the religious places in India, for example, Guruvayur in Kerala and other Haridwar, Rishikesh, they're all moksha dhams only because people go there for final emancipation. So visiting any place, for example, Guruvayur is flooded with women. Actually, women devotees are more than men in Guruvayur because I am from Kerala. So does it mean that women should not visit any religious place at all?
Very good question, and I'm glad you asked. I once went till the door of Guruvayur, and then there was a board which said, only Hindus are allowed. I have always thought of myself as a Hindu, but people around me, they thought the municipality's birth certificate is more important. So they were doubtful, so I stayed out. But my experience of Guruvayurappa, of Sri Krishna, is of the heart. When you just think of him, the heart, the anahata comes into play. Every step in the journey towards moksha is a step towards moksha. We can't have a dysfunctional Muladhara or Swadhisthana and say, I will work towards moksha. You have to first fix the body. Sharira margam kalu dharma sadhanam. Without the sharira being the vehicle, it cannot happen. So every temple has a certain sankalp. Even Ayyappa, in other temples, women can go. The same Swami, but the sankalp at the time of prana pratishtha is different. Anahata is one of the steps in the journey towards moksha. For women especially, they can easily go up to this point because so effortlessly they experience love. And Sri Krishna is all about love. When Krishna Bhava comes, your heart just opens. And without experiencing that step in the journey, moksha cannot happen. So it is a step. When we say moksha dham, it directly works on the ajna. And the person can leave the body from there too. All the others are steps and stages. When we go to a place like Ma Kamakya's temple in Guwahati, all chakras she'll work on. Based on your guna, whether you need something in the worldly life or spiritual journey, she will take you to that next step, next level. So places like Guruvayur and others are very, very powerful centers that work on certain aspects of yours. But, Sri Vishnu and Sri Devi are often considered as the same. But Shiva is slightly different. When the Shiva Tattva happens, he doesn't care whether you're ready or not. He will dissolve you. Whereas the others, they'll be a little more taking into consideration where you are in life and they will slowly nudge you ahead. You go to Kailash, you're done for. Many women who've been to Kailash, Manasarovar, have written to me because their menstrual cycles have been badly disrupted after that. Many women who have been recommended to wear a Rudraksha have written to me because their period becomes irregular after that. So when I say places of moksha, I specifically mean those which are meant. So when we go to Kashi, everybody goes to Kashi Vishwanath temple. Ideally, next to that is Sri Vishalakshi. You must go there to balance the energy. Women go only to Kashi Vishwanath, their period gets disrupted, they write to me. One girl, she had read my book, so though her family did not understand what she's doing, she insisted, no, I must also go to Devi. So she went there and then she was okay. So if wherever you see these powerful kshetras, you will see that there is also a separate shrine for Devi. It is for a purpose. It's to balance that, bring that down if you're not yet ready. We must become aware of that. So if you go to Kashi, please visit Devi also. If you're still in samsara, if you're not yet ready, please visit Devi also. I hope I answered the question. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think in the interest of time, that's... Okay, one last question, please.
Saira ma'am, thank you for the openly talk on menstrual cycles. Most of our girls are in that, and in every month they used to have that pain. Most of the girls have to faint for that pain and all. Is there anything you can tell to our girls that they can endure that pain and sustain it?
See, when I came to this campus, very important question, Ma, can I answer it? When I came to this campus itself, I thought the energy here is so high. What would be happening to the girls during their period? Because I'm telling you, I'm sitting here, my period is not starting. Only when I step out of here, it will happen. What that means is your body is ready to menstruate, so pranas naturally wants to go down. We call this the apana prana, apana vayu, pancha pranas if you've studied. Apana vayu is the body's gravitational force which keeps things downwards. When you are in a place like this with high energy, it's difficult for that gravity to act downwards. It pulls it upwards. That's why you have pain. There's always this conflicting thing in your body. Prana has to go down, but it is being pulled up. Women who go to temples during menstruation, this is what happens. This is why they are told not to go to temples or high energy places or be around people whose prana is very high. That's why they used to practice menstrual seclusion. So for all of you, I have written the book Rutu Vidya. It is available on all online platforms like Amazon, Flipkart and others. It explains everything as per the Shastras, what you can do to be free of period pain. There are thousands of girls who, without visiting a doctor, just following the rules as per the Shastras, have become free of period pain. That can happen very easily for you also. The staff has also asked me to come and talk just to the girls on another day. So maybe we will do that. We'll have a separate session on Rutu Vidya. But you must always remember, when your prana has to go down, it has to go down. If you are in spaces where it is pulled upwards, that's when you have the pain. This is explained in detail in the book. And maybe in future we will do a session on this. Yeah? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a very enlightening talk, and I think we can all agree that she has explained these Vedic concepts in a very simple way that each of us can understand. And I think we've all learned a lot from you, Ms. Sinu Joseph. I would now like to request Dr. K.P. Sai Leela to kindly offer a token of our love and gratitude to Ms. Sinu Joseph. Our next speaker is Dr. Raja Luis Alvarez. He cannot be with us here today from Latin America, but he has sent us a special video message. Having studied and worked with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi for more than 30 years, Dr. Raja Luis Alvarez is a world-leading expert in the application of Vedic technologies of consciousness in education, government, and military training. He has introduced the Vedic science of consciousness to over 250 schools in 23 countries in Latin America and even to many military training programs in Latin America. He will be addressing us on the topic, Vedic prescriptions for a healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, healthy habits, and healthy routines. Can we have the video, please?
It is a great honor for our Maharishi universities to participate in this very special event. The Maharishi European Research University, where we are now, is dedicated to research on Vedic science and technologies, and it's a great joy for us to be able to participate in this global conference for Vedic ideas for a better world, which we think is so timely, and we want to congratulate the Sri Sathya Sai University of Human Excellency for this event, and especially we want to congratulate and express our gratitude to Sadguruji, because the timely value of this knowledge and the importance of Vedic ideas for the improvement of society cannot be overemphasized. So it's a great privilege for us to participate, also to have such distinguished members of the around the world and Ayush Ministry. So we feel very honored to be part of this event. I would like to brief a few ideas that I think they could be important in the context of Vedic ideas for improvement of the health and the well-being of society in this short talk. And the principle will be to show more the research already undertaken through scientific means and investigation to prove the results in order that they are able to be understood by the scientific community worldwide. So let's start then. I hope the Vedic motto of life, as expressed in our Upanishads, Aham Brahmasmi, and it was when Maharishi went to the West, Maharishi Mahesh Yogiji went to the West, was to create science, to create research, and to understand Veda from this objective scientific perspective. Today we will be listening from Dr. Tony Nader, which is the leader of the Maharishi worldwide institutions, which is a medical doctor, neurologist, and specialized in the connection between health and Vedic knowledge, Vedic sounds. And just briefly, to show you that the total knowledge of health for a healthy individual, for a healthy society, was categorized and studied in terms of 40 aspects of Ved, including the 4 Veds, the Vedangas, Upangas, Upaveds, Brahmanas, and Aranyikas, Pratisakyas. And what Dr. Nader did under the guidance of Maharishi was to find a correlation in number and in structure between the specific components of the Veda and the human physiology in a one-to-one correlation. And the fact that this is so accurate, the fact that this is so exact without any flaw in any of the 40 aspects of the Veda considered, and all the systems of the human physiology, whether it's the physiology or the sensory systems, or the processing systems, the metabolism of the motor systems, etc. The fact that it's so accurate can only mean one thing, that the knowledge of Veda, it is subjacent, is a knowledge of natural law, which is at the basis of the physiology of every individual. So it's not, Veda is a science, Veda could be considered a technology, and the future of Vedic medicine is if there is a one-to-one correlation between the every mantra, every chapter of every aspect of the Veda and specific organs, it must be that there is, through this way, to restore the balance through the Vedic sounds and Vedic recitations is possible. So this way of regaining health by enlivening all qualities of intelligence at the basis of the physiology shows that Veda is a technology that could be scientifically tested, scientifically proven in connecting the human physiology and its disorders with the original imprint of the intelligence of nature, which is the structure in the knowledge of the Vedas. So this has been one of the research of the university, and apply this in specific health situations, whether it's in a hospital, in a clinic, whether it's patients of various types of diseases or prevention, they all can benefit from the Vedic sounds properly organized and quantified. A lot of research has been done and is being done in that area. I think it's important to understand that that also answers another question that modern science has in relation to consciousness and Veda as the basis of the field of consciousness. There is an understanding, whether it's classical or quantum mechanics or quantum field theory, the different levels of physics until superior unification, where science at the moment is located, that the qualities and the behavior of that unified field and the qualities of pure consciousness as described in the Veda, it is the same. So that means that the objective well, understood by the physics, and the consciousness described by the Veda, it is related, is correlated. So in this way, we are seeing already two very important ideas in the form of sciences that derive in a technology. It is possible, through the knowledge of the Veda and its technologies, to address health issues, to address social issues, to address environmental issues. And we are going to try quickly to run through these concepts to this distinguished audience. When we study the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, we find an expression of Patanjali, and we are so happy that the Sankaracharya Vedic Research Center has been inaugurated on Guru Purnima in Sathya Sai University. Tat Sanidu Vairaga is that idea that wherever there is yoga, wherever there is coherence, hostile tendencies are eliminated, violence, negativity. And that is at the root of why in the past, in the pre-colonial India, the Pandits, they were singing every morning and afternoon near the cities, so all tendencies were positive in the life of the people. And that practice that has been lost now was on the basis of the power of the Vedic sounds to restore harmony in society. And this has been object of a lot of research. It is true that our society has a lot of social stress, which is at the cause of violent crime, lots of diseases, conflicts, and war. And this social stress could be, as we see here, object of economic or family or other reasons, but has an effect to create violent crime, diseases of all kinds, alcoholism, drug abuse. So that concerns us that when we want a healthy society, we have to consider the individual and the role of society. And that has been, from the beginning, the approach of the Vedic sciences. That has been always the integrated approach of Vedic sciences. One of the hypotheses that was brought by Maharishi to the research of 53 universities, especially in US and in Germany and Europe and Japan, was that wherever there is large groups of meditating in a special procedure can diffuse tensions in society without having to act on the negativity of society. It's like the individual brain in that state of more coherence is able to create order in a natural way in society. And that is the Vedic silent way to protect society. And that has been proved by highly statistically significant results. We have about 53 at the moment replications and 23 published studies of this approach for improved society that has been considered and published by the most distinguished journals of peer review of scientific publication that shows that the Vedic technologies can affect not only the individual and the health, but the society in its health also. And that is very important. The hypothesis that we took in this study was to take the population of a country or of a city and to have the square root of the 1% of that population, because that's the formula that in the laser print of physics creates a state of coherence. And it happens like when we have milk and we are boiling and the situation is very, very tense, a few drops of cold water and the whole milk goes down. So society can be understood as the result of individuals, and the health of society can be understood as the total sum of the health of the individuals. That's why this research has been done. This is, for example, when the research was done in 2-month study in Washington, D.C., showing the decrease of crime and social stress by just doing these techniques, Vedic techniques of consciousness, without having any action or any intervention in the problems. Just creating, and those research has been proven for decrease of homicide, decrease of violent crime, accidents, mortality rate, motor vehicle fatality, and reduce of drugs. So that shows us that what we have understood about matter and what has been understood by the different levels of science, from the classical to the quantum field theory, it seems that there is a connection field that the Vedas had known very well from the beginning, that had used this expression Rastriya, Kavach, and Samiti, Samani that we see in the Rig Veda and others, that shows that there is a connection between matter and consciousness. And that can be proved easily by the EEG technologies, where we can see the effect of these technologies in the brain of one individual, or we also have done various individuals. Even here we have the individuals doing the technique, and maybe in some other room or far away there is people that they don't know anything, and the EEG is taken, and the closer they are to the generator of order, the closer their brain waves changes, showing that there is a field, a very powerful field of consciousness that underlies society and is at the basis of the health of society. So this has been part of our experience studying the brain and the social superradiance effect for reducing violence and mitigating environmental disasters, etc. And this is based on 2 principles. One principle which we call the Maharishi effect, and is based on the Meissner effect of physics. An ordinary conductor, like electrical incoherent conductor, allows the penetration by external field. A superconductor is not able to be penetrated. In the same way, we had in the Veda the concept of Rastriya Kavach. So the Kavach means the coherent area of the society or the group of individuals that allows the protection of the Vedic technologies for society and for the individual. And we have been doing a number of research, as we said, in whatever is like in Israel, in the war, in US, in Lebanon, in Yugoslavia, in the Netherlands, a number of studies that shows that war-related fatalities decrease, injuries decrease, the level of conflict drops, and the cooperation of antagonists increases. So this principle enunciated by Patanjali, that wherever there is this field of yoga, there is possibility to create harmony, is not a philosophical thing. It's a scientific, proven principle that has been put to the research in a number of studies with very, very successful results. And when we just take the numbers participating and the period where they do, and then we see the incidence in violent crime, in death and fatalities, and the results, even 5 years, 7 years study, shows very consistently that the Vedic technologies of consciousness, they have this effect on the health and well-being of society without having to discuss or penetrate or had a direct action, but an action created from the field of samadhi. And we have also, when we consider the health of society and the health of the individual, we have to consider the health of the environment. Because in the Vedas it's clearly said, the way that the human beings are thinking structure the reaction of nature. So if there is drought, or there is too much rain, or there is typhoon or hurricane, might be related and can be related as per the Vedic knowledge in the human behavior. And at the request of the government of Mozambique, for example, we had the opportunity to create a group of these Vedic technologies of consciousness and prove the reduction of the drought of 15 years drought, and the reduction of and consolidation of the war as a process. And there is the report of the different authorities of Mozambique that they say they didn't understood very well what was, but it was possible to see that the effect was real and was tested. And we have done that. Last year there was, in 2021, the American US Department of Agriculture predicted terrible drought in Arizona and in New Mexico. And we did predict, we used the different technologies. We used the technologies of consciousness and the Vedic engineering, the Vedic sounds. And immediately, in about a week, there was immediately an increase of all that was this drought disappeared and appeared a total different situation, like was not like that in about 5 years, and it was totally unexpected, and they said there was no way to be predicted. And we also have done the same with the terrible fires that last year they did in California. We did the prediction before, and the authorities said it was not going to be the fires, they were going to continue for 2 months. We did the Vedic technologies, and in 15 days, the whole situation had calmed down unexpectedly to the prediction of the experts. These studies are all now on publication, going to publication in international journals of science. So, and the same we have when we had the group for 5 years, and we studied the hurricanes. And US for 5 years had no any hurricane entering in US when we had the group, and when the group was dismantled for some difficulties, then the hurricanes came again. So whether it's health of the individual, whether it's the well-being of society, whether it's the environment and the global warming that we are so much worried about, all could be dealt with the Vedic technologies of consciousness. And there is enough research to prove that. And that will allow to fulfill another Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, Heyam Dukkam Anagatam. Let's avert the danger which has not yet come. Or if the danger has yet come, we can at least mitigate it and allow the use of these Vedic science and technologies for this. And it's not difficult, like when Ram goes to see Vasishtha in the Ramayana to learn from the Gurukula, the first thing that Vasishtha says to him is, Alpakal Vidya Sathya. Total knowledge is in one brain. every person has all the knowledge. It's not far away, it's inside, and we can access it, and that will allow well-being for all. So with this presentation, what we just wanted to say is that the Vedic technologies in its research level, they are more required than ever before. They are very important in all the different health, social issues, and environmental issues that we're experiencing, and that to bring this idea of Ram Raj, Duk Kahuna Vyapa in Ramayan, that in the reign of Ram, suffering belonged to no one. That is the Vedic goal, our Sarveva Bantu Sukhinam, and that is what we want to promote in a very close cooperation with the Sathya Sai Baba group, for which we feel great appreciation and desire to work together, and all the other great speakers and government members in this event, and with our gratitude to our coordinator, Dr. Naitani, for creating this opportunity. And on behalf of the Maharishi European Research University, our total commitment to work with you in research to prove all this again in India. This has been proved outside India. Maharishi went out and did it outside. It's time to do it now in India, and we think it's fantastic if we can do that with the Sathya Sai Baba in the context of this beautiful conference. Our deepest gratitude for the opportunity, our deepest pranam to Sadhguruji, and thank you so much to all for the opportunity to share our experiences and knowledge, and wishing that they are helpful in better ideas of Vedic ideas for a better society. Namaste.
Our final speaker for the session is Dr. Tony Nader, who has also sent a very special video message all the way from Europe. Dr. Tony Nader received his Doctor of Medicine degree from the American University of Beirut, where he also studied internal medicine and psychiatry. Further, he received his PhD in the area of brain and cognitive science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Currently, he is the international president of Maharishi Vedic Universities, Maharishi Universities of Management, and Maharishi Open University. Dr. Nader's vision is to bring happiness, health, and peace to the minds of the entire global family. He will address us on the topic, Vedic ideas on building fundamental societal values and knowledge systems for a better society. May we have the video, please?
My pranam, great respects, and namaste to all the spiritual leaders and scientists and knowers of reality assembled today to discuss the Vedic healthy life. What is Vedic healthy life? Healthy life based on knowledge. This is Vedic healthy life. Veda is knowledge, and it is total knowledge of the laws of nature. Today, the scientists, the researchers in modern times, research, are looking to understand how nature works. What is the purpose? What is the meaning of life? What are the laws of nature that manage our universe on the physical level, the chemical level, the biological level, the physiological level, and the cosmic level, in terms of relation with the environment, the far and distant environment, as well as the near environment. The changes in seasons, the cycles of day and night, the different expressions of levels of consciousness through sleep, waking, dreaming, and higher states of consciousness. And all of this in terms of proper alignment with the whole purpose of life. Proper alignment with the meaning of existence. Why are we here? Our presence on earth is to establish and live full reality of who we truly are. And we are pure consciousness. Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahm. We have forgotten this. And to fulfill the purpose of life, we have to remember this. We have to know this. and that is knowing ourselves, transcending, going beyond the surface values of existence, and going deep into the self, we discover who we truly are. And that is not just a knowledge of experience on a surface level. It is not an experience of some kind of emotion or mood or feeling. It has all of these values, but it is ultimately the experience of true reality of life and the experience of the source of all creativity and intelligence in the universe. By experiencing that transcendental field, we are aligning ourselves with the power of nature, with the force that manages the entire universe and maintains it in perfect order. And then we are living a healthy life. A healthy life is a life lived in accordance with natural law. Natural law in different traditions is expressed as the will of God, the will of the Creator. In science, we call it the laws of nature. And the laws of nature manage the growth and development of the universe and of our life on all levels, physical, chemical, biological, physiological, and on the level of the expressions of all of these in behavior, in creation of society, in alignment with the near environment as well as the far environment, and the cycles of nature, the cycles of physiology, the cycles of day and night, of seasons, of different phases of our life, and including the cycles of the planets and the stars. Vedic knowledge has that total knowledge of natural law. And we as humans, we have embodied in our physiology all the laws of nature that are expressed in the Vedic literature. As His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi explained and organized the Vedic literature in terms of a perfect science of life, with its 40 aspects starting from Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and all the other fields of Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaran, Niruk, Chand, Jyotish, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Karma Mimamsa, Vedanta, and all the other aspects of Gandharva Veda, Stapatya Veda, Dhanur Veda, Ayurveda, and the different types of Brahmanas, Upanishad, Aranyak, Brahmana, Itihas, Puran, Smriti, and all the Pratishakyas. All of these are the different values of natural law, expressed in different ways. First, on the most subtle level, as vibrations that become sounds. So the laws of nature that come from that one field of pure consciousness, pure being, reverberating within itself, emanates in the consciousness of the rishis as vibrations, as sounds. And these sounds are the recitations of the Veda. These sounds, they have meaning, but they have also vibration. They have sound value, vibrational value between sound and silence. And Maharishi organized them as a pure structure of natural law and asked me to look into how they are also present in our own personal human physiology, not only on the level of consciousness, but embodied in our actual body, in our physical anatomy and physiology. And this was a long research for many years that have been published and that has unfolded the reality that we truly are Brahman, even on the physical level, on the level of the structure of our body. Veda is the blueprint that has become our physiology, our nerves, the structure of our brain, our different lobes of the brain, different structures of nuclei within the brain, collections of neurons. They're organized in a certain way, and they perform specific functions. As it turns out, these functions are exactly the same as the different functions of Veda and Vedic literature. And not only function, but also structure, which means we are a replica of Veda and Vedic literature. So Vedoham is a true physical reality in our own physiology. And that is why our human physiology is able to achieve samadhi, to achieve a state of experiencing pure consciousness, and therefore going to that field of life, which modern science describes as the unified field of natural law, which is a field of pure consciousness, of pure existence, and which is the source of all the managing intelligence in the universe. So we can be that, by being which we are everything. We can know that by knowing which we know everything. We can go to the manager of all that is in the outer value. So true Vedic healthy living means living in accordance with knowledge of natural law, and not only knowledge of specific values such as daily routine, life in accordance with the cycles of nature in terms of seasons, but also in terms of the planets and the movement of the planets and what do they predict, as we see in Jyotish, life in proper structure, proper orientation of houses, and living in terms of Vastu building and Vastu construction, and that is in Sthapatya Veda. Also through Ayurveda, the diet and daily routine. So all of these are actual specific values, but the Veda also gives us the knowledge of transcending through transcendental meditation, which brings us back to the self, back to that source of all knowledge, that source of all intelligence, that actually is the home of all the laws of nature, and allows us then to live in accordance with the laws of nature. Healthy living is to live in accordance with law, and that is not just human law, but supreme law, law of life, law of karma, law of dharma, law of all that is good, and that we can live spontaneously through being in tune with that field of total law, of total natural law, which is our own inner self. So we don't have to go far to look for it intellectually and emotionally and study it outside. We can discover it within. And that is the beauty of Vedic knowledge, that total knowledge comes from deep dive within the self and aligning oneself with the organizing power of total natural law, which is Veda and Vedic literature, expressed in Veda and Vedic literature. That value ultimately is our self and the self of everything. So we become in tune with wholeness, and we can live wholeness. There are many specific values that will be discussed, I am sure, in great detail during this great conference by great experts about Ayurveda, Sthapatya Veda, Jyotish, and even in the fields of yoga, unifying values, karma mimamsa, Vedanta, and also other aspects and fields that teach us the reality from different perspectives. For example, the Ramayana, it's not just a story or a historical event alone. It is also the story of our physiology, of our growth, of our development as an individual, as well as the story and development of society and nature. And it is enlivening within us, teaching us, guiding us how our physiology evolves and how our behavior and interactions with others. So it is also a display and explanation of the laws of nature. In the same way, Mahabharata, in the same way, all the Vedic literature is a guiding light from even the sound value. For example, in yajna, these performances that can have deva value, enlivening the laws of nature, which are the devatas. Grihashanti, which means the pacifying of any negative untoward effect. By chanting the Veda, those laws of nature, which is the Veda, are enlivened and obstacles are removed and clarity of perception and behavior arises, leading to removal of all obstacles and all problems and inspiring a behavior in the best possible direction. So even just the sounds of the Ved, chanted from that deep level by the Pandits who have that tradition, when they are transcending, which means they're going back to the self and enlivening those values of natural law from a deep level, then the effect is more powerful. And all of this has been studied scientifically. We have, in modern times, looked at the effects of the different Vedic procedures, particularly the transcendental meditation, and all the other techniques and knowledge of the Veda. And there have been very profound documentation of their effectiveness. So it is not just an idea or a theory or even in any way just a wishful thinking. It is proven, it is scientific, it is evidence-based, and therefore, if we want a holistic life that brings happiness and health and peace in society, then that is healthy living, that is Vedic healthy living, and that is not only for the individual, particularly at this time, it is most important for the health of society, health of our world, which means a world that is in peace, where people resort to technologies that are harmonious, that are enriching, that are nourishing to every country, to every people. And that can only happen when we raise the collective consciousness of the people to overcome the difficulties and allow the collective consciousness to guide the leaders of the world to make choices that are nourishing and healthy and balancing and create invincibility for their own nations, invincibility for themselves, at the same time, invincibility for the whole world and peace and harmony in the family of nations. This is also not just theoretical or wishful thinking. It has been profoundly studied scientifically, where a group of people practicing transcendental meditation and its advanced techniques, the siddhis, as brought to light by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, have proven to reduce conflict, to reduce criminality, even accidents of the roads, hospital admissions. And therefore, we have a very profound technology, Vedic technology, which means technology based on knowledge, not on ignorance, not on knee-jerk reactions, not on anger or fear of the other, on true knowledge that we are everything. Aham brahmasmi sarvam kalvidam brahm vedoham devaham. And that is really the reality of who we are. Only we need to rise to that level, and the Vedic technologies that are available help us to create that level of perfection for our personal life and for society and our dear world. So this conference is very profound, very important, very timely, and again, my great admiration, respect, and pranams to all the leaders participating. All glory to the tradition of Vedic masters to bring fulfillment, health, happiness, and peace for individuals and society as a whole.
We thank all our speakers for this very illuminating session that we had on the Vedic way of a healthy lifestyle. And with that, we conclude session 1 of the Global Conference on Vedic Ideas for a Better Society. Thank you. We will begin session 2 at 3 p.m., so we request all to please be seated by 2:45 p.m. Thank you. Saira.